What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We need to get some drive power to the back wheels. How are we gonna do that? We need a drive shaft, a tail shaft, whatever you wanna call it. So let's jump in and I'll tell you what our solution is gonna be for this 1JZ E46 build.
Well, that just cost me a lot of money.
In our last video of the Better Than an M3 build, we got all of our intercooler pipes lined up, cut, beveled, and installed. So now it's ready for boost. But to put that boost down, we've got to have a tail shaft.
All right, so it looks like I'm throwing this in the bin, but I'm not. This is the original tail shaft. The center bearing is completely cooked, which is delightful. But what we're gonna do is use this. I have a company, they're gonna put a new center bearing on, they're gonna cut the front off, and they are going to weld on the front of a A340 tail shaft, the tail shaft that would go into an A340. Made the measurements, so it is actually from the center bearing to the back of the gearbox. The complete back of the spline is 680 mil exactly. Right there is 75 mil, and right there is 60 mil, and the tail shaft for the A340 is 60 mil, so that's perfect. They can cut off, they can weld, they can do whatever they need to do, and that will work nicely. So let's get this, and let's get the other part that we need, the Toyota front, take it in and get some modifications done.
All right, so the guys have retubed the front completely, brand new center bearing, and then obviously this is the front that goes to the Toyota box. So yeah, we're all good. Let's go chuck it in. In the future, if we go for much bigger power figures, we can go a single piece tail shaft. But for now, this is gonna do the job.
All right, we've got the modified tail shaft. Now let's jump underneath and I'll show you what we got to do. It's real simple. 4 bolts at the back, 2 nuts in the middle, and slide on the front. But let me show you.
First step is removing the cradle at the diff. Now, essentially, this is just a safety brace so that if somehow you break all 4 bolts from your tail shaft to your diff, your tail shaft isn't going to start slapping the ground. So you remove that, and then it's a slide in it at the front and bolt in at the back, and then obviously your center bearing. But that's where things went wrong. Really, really wrong.
Well, that just cost me a lot of money.
So not everything goes right all the time on cars. I've stuffed up with a measurement and it's going to cost me hundreds of dollars now, and there's no way about it. So what I have done, when you retube the front of a drive shaft, you need to give them the measurement from the back of the gearbox to the center of the center bearing, which on this is great. I'm not sure if it's every car, because obviously I don't have every car right here, but on here there's actually studs. So what I did was I ran a bit of thread from one in a figure 8 to the other. So obviously there's a center point, measured that center point, back of the gearbox, all good. Yeah, there's 2 sets of those. Yep, there's one a little bit further back and there's one a little bit further forward. I measured to the one at the back. Turns out it's the one at the front. It's a bit further forward. So what I thought was a 680 millimeter measurement is actually 418. So the front of the drive shaft is too long. So that's fun. Also, oh my God, I almost just coughed up a lung. Yes, that's cool. Cool. I'm gonna have to take it back. I'm gonna have to chop the front off and weld it shorter. So, fun. All right, let's go sort that out and then get it back in there.
All right, and we're back. That was the quickest tail shaft modification you guys have ever seen. So big shout out to GJ Drivelines, not sponsored or anything, just they're close to me. They did the initial modification, so they retubed the front of the tail shaft, balanced it, obviously changed the front to the Toyota adapter. And I gave them the wrong measurements, as you guys know from the last clip. So then I went back, gave them the correct measurements, and they fixed it, and they actually looked after me with price as well. So I really appreciate that, because that was gonna sting, and it stung a little bit less with them looking after me. So now we have it, now it should fit. Now let's get under there and install the thing. For our gearbox crossmember, we're actually able to use the factory BMW crossmember, and then we've upgraded to poly hard mounts. You can see on top there's an adapter plate, which for this is actually version 2 of the adapter plate. I'll make some markings, and then we can make version 3, which will be made out of 6mm. As you can see, I'm having to drop the gearbox slightly, so we'll be putting spacers in here and longer bolts so that the gearbox can line up with the tail shaft absolutely perfectly. This will be fine-tuned later on. Once that's lowered to the correct height, we can slide the tail shaft in the front, throw the 4 bolts in the back, and 2 nuts on the center bearing.
All right, now, as you can see what I did earlier, I've got a bolt here, they're extra long, because we need to make sure that up here, if you guys can see, that we have the clearance for obviously the tail shaft to spin. So that's gonna have to all line up nicely. Now, Kel is gonna help me with that when we get this on a hoist, and we will make sure that this sits perfectly like in line, and this has enough clearance to spin and move and do all of its bits and bobs. Then we've got center bearing bolted in and back of the tail shaft all bolted in nicely. So as for this job, we're done. All right, tail shaft is in and that's good. Thankfully that's done. So I just want to go through and torque up all the bolts, but we'll do that on the hoist because it's way easier. They're like, you know, forearm tight, but I just want to make sure they're torqued perfectly because obviously you don't want your tail shaft falling out. Also off camera, I just want to put that brace up in front of the diff, so that's all good. Thank you for coming along. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. See you guys.